Well, that did that to me again, and that's the way it goes. But just like the freaking Giants, you make mistakes here. Don't know what happened.
Well, Baddog, we actually start early. We don't wait for the 30 seconds. We show up to the meetings and
That's
the
correct.
podcast is on time.
That is correct. We don't wait 45 minutes. I don't know. I have no idea what the hell happened there, but that's a great intro. It's perfect for the way the Giants play. Totally discombobulated. What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another edition of Giants Collective, joined by the guys today. Chris right next to me, Anthony over there in the corner, or on the edge, I guess. Just like I'm on the edge, just like all Giants fans are on the edge because this team is absolutely shit. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in and watching us discuss this train wreck of an organization. Do us a favor, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. It helps us out big time. You can check us out on Twitter. Not Twitter, sorry. You can check us out on Instagram and TikTok. Having a rough day here. You can also check us out wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon, all that good stuff. You can listen to us on Apple. You can leave a 5-star review. That would be great. The opening portion is brought to you by our friends at Doer. And, of course, holidays are here this year. I'm not stressing about what to wear because I'll be wearing Doers. Chris not wearing his Doers tonight. These are the most comfortable pants or clothes I own, and they make me look good. Doers Denim and Lifestyle Apparel is engineered for movement and versatility, whether I'm going traveling, lounging at home, or going to a nice dinner party. If you don't have your Doers yet, now's the time. I've been recommending Doer to all my friends. These are my favorite jeans to wear for any occasion. Doer invented the original performance denim, and they give us the best of both worlds, combining classic jeans wear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear, designed to look great and stay comfortable all day and all year round. It's time for you to experience the comfort of Doer. I know you'll love these. Pick up a pair for yourself as an amazing holiday gift for yourself or somebody else. Go to shopdoer.com/Giants Collective to get 15% off your first order. That's shopdoer, DUER.com/Giants Collective. Easiest way to do that, guys and girls, just hit the link in the description, get 15% off of your purchase. So we have the recap over here. You see what the discussions were going to be. We came up with these topics yesterday, but we're going to kind of veer off of what that says for now. We'll get into them eventually. Joe Schoen's press conference, obviously a much-watched event. I was in the live chat today. I saw about 5,000 other Giants fans very eager to hear what he says. Anthony, what was your take on? I know you weren't a big Joe Schoen fan. I can't imagine you came out of that press conference any convinced otherwise. What did you think about the whole thing in general?
Well, I understand your question, and I appreciate your question. I came out of it. I mean, if I wasn't peeved before, I'm definitely peeved now. I listen. Okay, so we talked about it on Fireside Giants, and I got to repeat this point because I think it's a good point. I think it's important for fans to have this perspective. Brian Daboll got a lot of crap for the first 10 weeks of the season, whatever it was, until he was fired, right? Even all of last year. Mike Kafka gets a lot of crap. Every little thing that these guys say in the media gets picked apart because they speak to the media every single day. So when the general manager who hides in his hole in his office in the organization in the building, he only speaks to the media once per season and twice in the offseason. So he doesn't get that kind of front-facing exposure. He doesn't have to answer for all of the mistakes that he makes throughout the years. So when he does go up there and speak to the media, I expect him to answer the questions. He understands them, so he should answer them. He shouldn't sidestep them. He shouldn't avoid them. He should directly answer the questions that are being asked of him because the fans, the three of us, and everybody else watching deserve answers. We put our hard-earned money into this game, into the Giants. We pay for Sunday ticket, for this streaming service and that service, for this jersey, for these tickets to that game. Use code Giants Collective 10. We pay for all of this stuff. That's how the players get paid. That's how Schoen gets paid, is from the fans. The diehard fans who've made this team as special as it is for the last 100+ years. We deserve answers. We deserve the guy who's running the show, the owner, the boss, all of these people. We deserve for them to actually be front-facing. And I feel bad for the coaches who do have to kind of put themselves on the cross every day, who have to speak to the media every day and answer those tough questions and inevitably say the wrong thing and get blowback from all of the fans and reporters and content creators like us, because when Dable would go up there and say something stupid, we would give it to him. But Shane doesn't get up there enough to say enough stupid things, so he honestly gets to just cruise on by, and I don't think it's fair. He should be more forward facing, and when he is up there speaking to the media, I expect answers to those damn questions, and I was unhappy that he didn't give those answers to the fans, because the fans deserve more answers as to why this team has been so bad for so long.
Chris, what was your takeaway from Joe Shane's press conference today?
I also understand the question.
Yes.
No, I mean, listen, it's kind of what you expected, if I'm being honest. There was nothing shocking out of that press conference for me. It was a lot of Joe Shane doing the politically correct thing in a lot of instances and not giving his full, like Anthony said, he didn't give us the answers that fans are craving for. But I expected that. That's the way he's been since he's been here. So he's kind of like a politician when it comes to the media. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not. And when the fan base is, as pissed off as we are right now, of course, we want him to show a little bit more humility and to take more responsibility for the building of this roster. And I left that press conference, and who knows, man, at the end of the day, it's all just speculation on our part. We're all just fans. We don't work for the Giants. We don't know what's actually going to happen. But my vibe from that press conference at the end of it was Joe Shane's probably not coming back next year. Now, that doesn't mean that will be the case. Maybe the team finishes strong, 3 out of 4. And I think we got a preview of what Joe Shane's going to try to say to Mara to keep his job, which is kind of common sense. Jackson Dart, the offensive line's gotten better. We have pieces. The pass rush, we think is going to further develop next year when we add some help at the linebacking core, so on and so forth. Those are going to be his arguments to keep his job. And that's kind of what he said, here and there throughout that presser, that there's good pieces and we're strong where it matters most. He even alluded to that when he talked about allowing Saquon Barkley to leave. Well, we had to use that money to spend on more important positions. That allowed us to bring in Jermaine Illuminor. That allowed us to sign John Runyon Jr. He mentioned both of those players in his reasoning for not bringing Barkley back. So I think that's what he's going to say to John Mara. That's how he's going to try to retain his job. But the vibe I got coming out of that presser was the Dable decision was ownership, or at least ownership influenced. And maybe Shane doesn't want to throw his friend under the bus. We all know that they had a tight relationship. And the vibe that I got was ownership hasn't yet made their determination on what they want to do with Joe Shane. And with the way the team looked last night on primetime, on John Mara's birthday, I definitely think things are trending down for Joe Shane. And I was at a point a couple weeks ago where I thought for sure, based off of the way that it was handled initially with the Dable firing, that Shane was likely going to be back. I wouldn't say I'd be shocked if he's back, but I'm definitely trending more towards I don't expect him to be back. I'd say 70-30. He's not coming back next year right now. That's the way I feel.
I think he's cooked, honestly. Yeah. And I've been on this platform for a long time, and I've been covering the shitty Giants for a long time. I mean, Chris and I have been doing this, working together for 8 years, and I covered them in a different way. Years before that, they've been bad ever since. I mean, they've been bad for 12 years. I'm usually extremely impatient with everything, and I'm very knee-jerk reaction to stuff. They lose, I want everybody gone. I can't stand it. Did it with Pat Shermer, wanted him out of here. Same thing with Joe Judge. And then when these two guys came along, for some reason, I was just much more patient. I felt like I was extremely patient with Brian Dable. Even more patient with Joe Shane. I was one of the last Mohicans when I was sitting there saying, advocating for Joe Shane to keep his job. I think Joe Shane is on an upwards trajectory. But the way they played last night, I tweeted it out. That's the type of performance that gets your GM fired. That they weren't playing at all. That's a team that's mailed it in. That's a team that's not playing hard for anybody. And it's a very poor reflection on the coaching staff. It's a very poor reflection on the GM. And the players have lost interest. When that happens, I don't think there's any question you got to get rid of him. And I remember the first question when he said, I understand the question, but he didn't answer. And I go, that's great. He understood it, but he didn't answer it, like Anthony said. And your point, Chris, the one question he did answer about like why they let Barkley walk, because they were questioning the leadership about what the fuck is going on with Abdul Carter, who was, again, not suspended, but, held out for the first quarter or whatever. And we don't know what the hell happened. At least I don't know what happened. As far as I know, we missed another meeting. But there's all kinds of rumors out there. And then Carter kind of claps back and says, don't say shit you don't know about. And then he's like, shit happens. I mean, oh, this is just a fucking terrible look for everybody involved in this organization. So last night's performance was really bad. I felt like that's the type of thing that gets him fired because, like I said, when your players stop playing for you, to me, this shows they don't respect you. They don't care. We've heard this before anyway, that he doesn't really have a great relationship with players. He did answer that one question about Barkley, and I thought he answered that properly because that is a fact. If you keep Barkley, you don't have the offensive line you have. You had to subtract to add. That one he actually answered properly. But that was the only one that he did answer properly.
You may not agree with the answer, but it was an answer.
He answered it. Go ahead, Anthony. Go.
Because I don't agree with the answer. I mean, go ahead and ask the Philadelphia Eagles, would they trade Jermaine Illuminor and John Runyon for Saquon Barkley? Would they trade Saquon Barkley away for those two players? No. So I think it's a faulty argument anyway. You're talking about a difference in talent. But
he gave you an answer, I think is what Baddog.
No, I understand. Yeah. I get that.
You understand the question?
He gave an answer. But the thing is, he gave the answer, and then it's like it wasn't an answer that had a lot of good practice behind it, in my opinion. It just didn't make sense.
But what I'm saying is he actually did answer. Like he had logic behind why he did that. You know what I mean? Whether that was correct or not, he did actually answer that because all the other ones he did sidestep. And I'll tell you what, I've never been the biggest Pat Leonard guy, but boy, Pat just sunk his teeth. He couldn't wait.
This was his Super Bowl. Like I said, this is Pat Leonard's Super Bowl.
He laid into him, and he didn't let up. Good for him, though. You as a fan, you wanted me to ask those tough questions. And I know Pat likes to stir up the shit, but you know what? In this aspect, I think he had a reason to ask those questions. And I like that he's pretty much – Joe Shane wasn't answering, pretty much saying, well, what are you saying to me here? He would say something, and Pat Leonard would dig in with another question, and Joe was shook. And it was obvious. So the performance on the field last night was terrible. His performance in the press conference was terrible. He's obviously shaken. I think he knows he's done. And he said something that I say all the time. And then I thought about it. He's like, I feel he feels like he's done a better job as he's going along and he's made less mistakes. I do think that there is a good young core talent here. But as much as I do feel like he's gotten better, their fucking record gets worse. How can you explain this shit? Their record is getting worse. Now, they still may win a game here or two and have a better record than last year, but since 2022, they have precipitously declined every year. And they might walk out with only 2 wins this year or another 3-win season. So,
and I'm going to tell you from the perspective of Mara, and I agree with you with that point that he said. There are some nice young pieces on this roster with the Malik Neighbors, with obviously Jackson Dart. The offensive line's getting better. Young, talented players with the pass rush that we would think would get better when we get a better defensive coordinator. But to me, you're just selling this. If I'm Mara, I'm saying you're right, but that just means it's a much more attractive job for a guy that I could bring in to replace you. And the whole fan base wants you gone to begin with. If I keep you and this team continues to plummet, it may not be as an attractive job in a year or two because I'm going to have to extend you if I end up keeping you this year, which is probably going to more than likely guarantee you another 2 years if we bring in another head coach. Why not make the move now? If I'm thinking about it from the perspective of Mara, when you have some pieces that would be attractive for a general manager to build around, you'd be able to get a strong candidate. So I just think the results aren't there. And he said it throughout the entire press conference. Shane said it time and time and time again. He said, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Well, it's been 4 years, Joe. So it's not like this is a year or two. It's been 4 years, and it's still not close to good enough. If I'm Mara, I'm making the move. I think there's enough attraction on this roster. Like Shane said, I don't disagree with everything he said throughout that press conference to bring in a new general manager that will want to take this job and a new head coach. So I think it's time to make the move. That's how I feel.
That was exactly what I said when he said this is an attractive thing for a new head coach.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I typed in the chat at that point. Is that also means it's an attractive position for a new GM, and I do think at this point you're done, man. You got to blow it up. Last night they didn't compete; they were not competitive, and I think that's the first game. Like I said, maybe when we were doing the game, Chris, maybe outside of game one, even though that was closer, and they were in it, but they really weren't. But last night they were down 30-7 at halftime, and it's no Shane Butler. I'm sorry, no Dable, no Shane Bowen, and it was worse. It was the worst game we've seen. So you can't blame Shane Bowen anymore. The defense was still doing the same dumb shit it's done all year, and I do. I think Joe Shane's cooked. I think it's over for Joe Shane. So we'll get into the game recap in a second. The game recap, of course, brought to you by Manta Sleep. Now, last night I did wear this.
He did.
During the game a few times.
I
had to wear it, especially after Younghoe Koo stuck his foot right in the.
Oh God! Did you have to remind me about that?
Well, we're going to talk about the game in a second, but let's talk about Manta right now. The Manta Pro Sleep Mask is a fully adjustable, ultra comfortable sleep mask that delivers 100% blackout, breathable, side sleeper friendly design. If you're tired of waking up before your alarm because the sun hits your face, the Manta Original Sleep Mask blocks out every bit of light so you can actually stay asleep. It has true 100% blackout. It blocks all light, even around the nose and sides for complete darkness. It has adjustable eye cups, soft memory foam cups that can be positioned to fit your face perfectly without any eye pressure. Soft, lightweight, breathable materials to keep you comfortable all night long and you won't overheat. It also has a fully adjustable strap that fits all head sizes and stays in place through the night. With Manta Sleep Mask, you get total blackout anywhere, anytime. The memory foam eye cups give you a pressure-free fit, and the lightweight materials make it easy to wear even if you toss and turn. Go to mantasleep.com, use the promo code NYG to get 10% off your first order, or again, just click the link in the description. Get it. They are very comfortable, man. That's one thing I will say. I joke around about it watching the games because it really does black everything out and you can't see anything, but they are really good for sleeping. I freaking love this thing. Especially in the summer, this will be great because, I like to wake up early in the summer, but I don't want to be getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. So that's perfect for that. Chris, we did the game together last night. You give us the game recap. Koo sticking his foot in the ground, Jackson Dart, all that good stuff.
It was the worst game, I think, in terms of all three phases combined that we've played all year. The special teams was so bad. Obviously, the 94-yard punt return, even to open up the game, they had a couple of big returns as well. Our kick coverage wasn't great early on in the game either. It was really bad. The special teams, by far the worst they've been all year. And like we talk about every time we do the live streams, Baddog, for the majority of this year, that's actually been a pretty good unit for the Giants. It was beyond bad. And I didn't even talk about Koo, who's part of special teams, and the holder, whoever you want to blame for that. Regardless, that was awful and embarrassing. The offense stagnant, right? It was really the first time since Dart's been the starting quarterback where they didn't do anything to open up the game, right? They're usually very successful with those first couple of drives. The offense was just really bad. They got a garbage time touchdown at the end of the game, but it felt like to me throughout the course of that game on the Giant side, Kafka, that was the most conservative play calling. It felt like I was watching Joe Judge all over again. It was very conservative. It felt like the Giants knew they were going to lose the game, and they just wanted to keep it somewhat close. They took very little shots down the field. The only big passing play was the play to Slayton that I recall, and that was 15, 20 yards after the catch. They didn't really throw any balls down the field other than the one ball that was dropped in the corner of the end zone by Theo Johnson. That was about 30 yards down the field. They stuck to the run. They were still running the ball when they were down by 18 with 10 minutes to go. It just felt like he knew he was going to lose. And from the other side, once the Patriots got off to the start that they did, that game was not nearly as close as the final score indicated. The feeling I got from that game is once they were up 17-0, Vrabel's like, okay, this game's well in hand. We know we're going to win. Let's work on some of our weaknesses. It was almost like a practice for them. Mm-hmm. Let's work on what we need to work on to get ourselves right for the playoffs when it's crunch time. If they wanted to win that game by 40, they could have. They came out, they were much more physical. Obviously, there were some penalties with the missing N on the helmet, but they were just much more physical. I was very impressed with the Patriots, the way that they played. Drake may have that incredible throw, but I just got the vibe that Vrabel almost treated that like a practice. After the first 20 minutes of that game, let's work on some of our weaknesses and get ourselves prepared for the playoffs. It was the worst game I think we've played all year in terms of all three phases. And it was a game that couldn't happen. For Kafka and of course our general manager Joe Shane.
Yeah, Kafka's not going to be And not for us, anyway. Anthony, what was your takeaway from the game last night?
My takeaway was that the Giants are not as good as we maybe thought that they were, right? Because we knew that they were a bad football team, a losing football team, but we thought that they were close and that they really could compete with every team. They competed with a lot of good teams so far this year, the Bears, the Lions, the Broncos, but they could not compete with the Patriots. The Patriots were a different beast. Patriots are a really good football team. You got to give them credit. Mike Vrabel is coaching the shit out of them. He is doing such a tremendous job over there. Even McDaniel's on the sideline coaching Drake May. I mean, Drake May, I was a huge fan of him coming out of college at UNC. He's just been everything and more that I expected of him. He's super fun to watch. That's a good Patriots team, though. And I think that's important to acknowledge. That's a really good team. But what Chris said is 100% right. They were so much more physical than the Giants. Every single rep, they looked like they wanted to kill the Giants. When they were making a tackle, they weren't just trying to bring the guy down. They were trying to bring the guy down with force. They were trying to make him feel it, make it so that the next time he's running and he sees that particular linebacker that hit him, he shudders for a second. He doesn't want to be hit by that linebacker again. That's the old mentality that the New York Giants used to have. That's the Giants that I grew up watching. I haven't seen that out of them in years, though. And I definitely haven't seen it out of them at all this year, except for maybe a couple of players, Brian Burns being the one that comes to mind. He plays like that, but I don't really see it across the board. This Giants team looks afraid of contact, looks like they don't know how to tackle, don't want to tackle. And I thought we saw a complete inverse. It was the total opposite from the Patriots. And it was honestly, it was fun to watch. Like, the Patriots were hitting dudes. They were making some plays. They were an enjoyable football team to watch. I have to say that. So I'll give credit to them, but I'll also just say, Kafka, if you thought he had a chance of becoming the head coach, that chance just flew out of the window. That's done. Not only did he prove he's not the best play caller, because we always had question marks about his play calling. It's been better this year. It's been pretty good at times. But still, we saw the weak points in his play calling, and then his clock management and ability to manage the game situations was just terrible, which is something I've been saying on the last several episodes. Some of his situational play calling's fine, but the situational play calling throughout this entire season, think about the Broncos game, the Saints game, the Lions game, even the situational play calling has been really bad. And I thought last night it really reared an ugly head. That 4th and inches that they decided to punt on. What are we doing? You're already eliminated. Playoffs. You're the only team that's eliminated from the playoffs. Why would you punt there? Just go for it. What do you have to lose?
I said it to Baddog Anthony during the stream. As soon as they punted there, the game was over. I mean, the game was probably over anyway. But as soon as they punted there, the game is over. They had to build some momentum to go into the half. I was stunned when they punted on their own 40 there because, like you said, the season's over. Give yourself a chance to make that a competitive game. You start with the ball in the second half, and then, of course, the Patriots 3 plays later, they're 20 yards past where they would have had it if you would have went for it on 4th down anyway, and you didn't get it. So I was stunned that he didn't go for it there.
I think that's just the kind of coach he is, though. And I think that, again, it gives the Giants their answer on him. So I understand Shane said today he's going to give him a legit shot, and he's here to support him, and he's going to evaluate him at the end of the year. It's over, man. There's nothing left to evaluate. Charlie Bolin also, everybody wanted to see how his defense would look. Sure, he blitzed a little bit more. That defense was terrible, man. I hate to say it, at a certain point in that game, I started to miss Shane Bowen a little bit. Just a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit. I mean, it was bad.
At least Shane Bowen had the defense competitive for 3 quarters. They weren't competitive for 3 fucking minutes in this game. The 4th and 1 call, I almost lost my shit because I said that to Chris. I'm like, you're 2-10. What are you worried about? You have to go over this. You can't stop them. It's obvious you can't stop them. So the only way you're going to freaking build any momentum is if you go for it and get it. And you were able to run the ball pretty effectively. So why are we punting it there? What are we scared of? The one thing that I definitely took away, and Chris and I did mention this, Anthony, when we were doing the Patriots were just kicking the shit out of the Giants. The Giants are a very soft team. It is on defense because it's funny on offense. Look at the way Singletary ran last night. Look at the way Tracy ran last night. Look at the way Scadaboo runs. Look at the way Dart runs. Those guys run with conviction and force, and they're trying to fight for every yard. You would expect that from your defense. Your defense, Anthony, you just mentioned it. You said it perfectly. Looks like they're afraid to make contact. They don't want to get off of blocks. They don't want to fucking tackle. They go in there, they touch them, they put their shoulder in them. What the fuck are you doing? Stick your fucking foot in the ground. Lay somebody the hell out, man. Don't you have any pride? How can you sit there and have them run over you? Chris, you said it too. They just toyed with us. They were toying the whole night. If the Patriots wanted to put up 60, they could have. They were just messing around. It was really, that was it. I don't know what happened. As far as the play calling goes, this is what I said in my post-game video. And if this is the case, Dart shouldn't be out there. I felt like when Dart got hit and he got lit up and it was a legal hit, he has to get out of bounds. He's got to learn to get out of bounds. It's a legal hit. As soon as that happened, it's like Mike Kafka's cheeks just clenched. And that was it. There was no more aggressive play calling. We didn't see Dart run at all. We didn't really see him take any deep shots. It's almost like they just handed the ball off because they didn't want Dart to get hit at all. And if you're that scared of him being hurt or him getting concussed again, the guy should not be in there. I don't want to see him get hit. I don't want to see him taking shots like that. But like Anthony mentioned, if you're going to take his aggressiveness away all the way, you're going to fuck him up. So just let him play the game or don't. But don't sit there and confine him and tell him, hey, listen, we're just going to hand the ball off. We're just going to hand the ball off. He had 99 passing yards through 3 quarters. And it's not because he can't throw the ball. Obviously, Theo Johnson dropping a touchdown was not good. But when we're down 18 and we're hand off, hand off, hand off, hand off, I mean, the Patriots are going to let you have that shit. Patriots are going to let you run the ball 7 times in a row. I think that had a lot to do with it. I think they were afraid when Jackson Dart took that big hit and they didn't want him getting hit again. They should have either pulled him out of the game or never started him.
Or Dart's got to learn to get out of bounds 2 yards earlier and not
but you can't just all of a sudden tell him to hand the ball off every freaking time.
Yeah.
You have to tell him, listen, you got to get down, buddy. You got to get out of bounds. Don't tiptoe the sideline. Get your ass out of there. Yeah. You know what I mean? The shitty thing was he didn't even get the first down, and then we got a fucking penalty, and it was 3rd and 16.
Yeah.
To me, though, I feel like it's almost out of spite. Like, the way that he spoke after the game in the press conference, Dart did, and he was like, I'm not going to change. I've been doing this since high school, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's saying, basically, he's not going to change just because the coaches are telling him to. So it's like we could say, you got to tell him to get out of bounds. He's not listening to the coaches. And I don't think that that's necessarily a Jackson Dart problem. I think that really is a problem with this coaching staff and the lack of respect that all of the players have. It's not just Dart. Dart's been up there throughout the whole season up until last night when he had these comments. He's been a consummate professional. He's taken extreme accountability, and he's shown a lot of love for all of the coaches. But last night, I got a totally different vibe. It's like he broke character finally. And I think that's what happens when you're eliminated from the playoffs and it's a tough season and you get smacked like that on national TV. I think that's what happens. But to me, it really just felt like he was communicating that there's a lack of respect from him and from all the players for the coaching staff. And I think that was communicated by Abdul Carter missing a meeting and then saying shit happens. No, shit doesn't just happen, bro. Shit happens. Are you kidding me? I thought that was an issue. That's really what it comes down to for me. I really just think they don't respect the coaches. And I actually think, I hate to say it, but I think because Dable got fired, it's actually exposing how little they respected the coordinators. And it's almost like maybe the grass wasn't greener. Maybe you should have waited until the end of the year. Like, I hate to say that because obviously I advocated. I was like, maybe, I advocated for moving on from Dable early. I thought that was the right idea because I wanted to give Kafka the chance. But now that he's getting the chance and now we're seeing the way that this team is responding to him and to now Bullen and everything, the response is not that strong. It's not positive at all. And it seems like they just do not respect any of these leaders in that locker room on the coaching staff.
And maybe I'm dead wrong. This is just speculation on my part. I think this Abdul Carter thing goes back a lot further than the last 2 or 3 weeks. Where he's been late to meetings and things like that. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be punished the way that he's been. Kafka's been a member of that coaching staff. Who knows? But it seems very odd to me that he's been late to meetings. 2 out of the first 3 weeks, Kafka's been the head coach. I feel like this is probably something that Kafka and the coaching staff has identified as a reoccurring problem since he's been here his rookie year. And Dable probably wasn't punishing him, but who knows? As far as what Dart had to say, I didn't like the answer, if I'm being honest. But I agree with Anthony. I think that also speaks volumes about the coaching staff. If Mike Tomlin's their head coach, I don't think he reacts that way. Or a guy that they respect. But that's a stupid answer in my opinion. And I love Jackson Dart. I want him to be the long-term quarterback, the franchise quarterback for the Giants. But to say, look at my high school film, I played just as aggressive. You don't think you need to make adjustments when you're going up against 250-pound linebackers in comparison to 160-pound accountants who run 5.4 40s as opposed to 4.4 40s and hit the way they do in the NFL. You need to adjust. So I thought that was a stupid answer on Dart's part, but he's a rookie. And I do think he'll learn and he'll get better, but I didn't like the answer. I do also agree, though, that you can't completely take away his aggressiveness. I'm not advocating for that, but he's got to be smarter. He's got to be smarter.
Think about if Gruden was his coach, though. Would he have said that to the media? Would he have said, "Oh, go back and watch my film"? No, he doesn't say that. If John Gruden's his coach, if Mike Tomlin's his coach, like, take your pick of the litter. Take the well-respected coaches. You know the respect that he has for John Gruden. When John Gruden told him during that infamous video that all the Giants fans love to talk about, when he told him, "You have to get down in the NFL. If I was your coach, I wouldn't let you do that." Blah, blah. He said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will get down, sir. Yes, 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 sir." Yeah. Now Mike Kafka's his coach, and he's like, "I'm not going out of bounds. I'm not changing the way I'm playing. I'm going to run through guys, and I'm going to take hits." It's completely different tone and completely different character. And that's why I'm saying, man, I just think it's just a lack of respect for the coaching staff. And I don't blame the players, because the players have to earn the respect, but the coaches have to earn the respect too. It's a mutual thing. They're all grown men, and the coaches have not earned it. And in fact, I think the coaches have done more disrespect than earning of respect. And that's ultimately what you're seeing really rear its ugly head at this point in the season.
I think Kafka is the equivalent of like a substitute teacher. You may not like your regular teacher, but you respect them and you don't get out of line when they're your teacher. But when there's a substitute, you feel like you can be a little bit more lenient. This person's not going to be permanent here, so we can kind of take advantage of the situation. But yeah, I agree with both of you. There's no way, even if Dable was still head coach, Dart's not saying that shit. I guarantee you. And you guys know I've been saying this shit since Dart started. I wasn't even talking about high school. I'm talking about college. You're playing against 18, 19, or 20-year-old kids. In the NFL, you're playing against grown fucking men who are 250, 260 pounds that run faster than you, and they are stronger than you, and they are bigger than you. You can't run into them and think they're going to. Ellis was looking to kill people last night.
Unless you are also a 260-pound man like Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's a little different when you're Josh Allen.
Jackson Dart is not.
Even then, though,
you don't want
him to. But yeah.
Giants fans love to say that, though. They love to say, Josh Allen does that, but he also does not run into people the same way that Jackson Dart is running into people. He does run into people, but not even to the level that Jackson Dart does. And like, I've been the loud vocal one here saying I don't want to change Jackson Dart. I want him to be physical. I want him to give out some hits every now and then and take some hits, because that's just who he is, and that's how he's going to play his best ball. Like, I've made the Baker Mayfield comparison. You're making the Josh Allen comparison. That's a good one. I've made the Mahomes comparison. But look at how those three other players do it compared to how Jackson Dart's doing it. They are picking and choosing their battles. He is fighting everybody. That's not sustainable. You got to pick and choose. You can't run into a linebacker barreling down on you, running like that Ellis hit was absurd. Walk out of bounds. You are 6 inches from the sideline.
And it was a scenario, Anthony, where the 2-yard difference really is not that important. Like, if it's 3rd and 3 as opposed to 3rd and 1, you still have 2 plays to get the first down.
Right.
It made no sense for him not to get out of bounds and give up an extra yard or two to avoid a hit.
If it was 4th down, he's going for the sticks. That's different.
Yeah, I hope that he'll get smarter, but he's got to pick and choose his battles.
I also don't think he expected Ellis to close that fast on him.
I don't think so.
And that's something he has to. That's the biggest thing I feel like any rookie, but especially quarterback, that is their biggest adjustment, is the speed in which things happen in the NFL. They don't happen like that in college. But in the NFL, the windows close quick, the linebackers bear down on you quicker, the linemen are on you quicker. Shit happens much faster in the NFL. So, yeah, I'm with Anthony. I don't want him to lose his aggressiveness and become scared and docile back there and not want to run. But again, he has to understand when to get out of bounds, when to get down, when it is good. If it's 3rd and 15 and you got 7 yards, get out of bounds. Stop. Don't fight for an extra 2 yards at that point. If it's 4th down and 2 and the game's on the line and you have to dive, then I understand that. Lower your shoulder, try to get the yard. I get it. But it's situational football, and it's something the coaching staff really fucking sucks at here. And if they suck at calling it, how well do they coach the players on situational football? Because to me, there is no – they don't understand it. And the coaching staff's done it. And again, I think the coaching staff is also a reflection of Joe Shane. And, I certainly have been an advocate of keeping him, but I can't defend Joe Shane anymore. And I think last night was definitely something for me to look at and go, okay, well, I was fucking wrong about that. I thought Joe Shane may have something going here. I thought these guys were competitive. We don't have Scatterbo. We don't have Neighbors. We don't have this. We don't have that. But I just look at the way they played last night. Go, they don't respect, like Anthony said, they don't respect anybody. They don't respect the coaches. They don't respect Joe Shane. They don't respect jack shit. And when that happens, you got to blow this to hell up. And you got to bring in, whether he's a popular guy or not, you got to bring in a guy like Mike McCarthy. You got to bring in an established head coach that commands respect of these young players, because it's one thing to get a veteran. It's one thing to have veterans on your team where you really don't need to coach them. They've been in the league for a long time. You still want the respect, but you're not molding those guys. You don't want guys like Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart and Cam. You don't want all your young players, Malik Neighbors, who just called out Mike Kafka, what the fuck are we doing? And then deleted the tweet. And they asked Joe Shane about it today, and he just said he's 22 years old. And I get it, but still, just like Abdul Carter's only 21. I get it. They're kids. I understand that, but it can't be a pattern. Remember last year, Malik Neighbors said, got to ask Coach Dave about that. The quarterback's not the problem. Got to ask Coach Dave about that. It's been a problem. They need a real head coach that has won something where these kids can look up to him. Okay, that guy knows what he's doing. This guy's won 12 games. This guy's won a Super Bowl. This guy knows what the fuck he's doing. I'm going to respect his decision. I'm going to listen to him more than some guy that's just an interim head coach and has never had a head coaching job. Fucking, what the fuck does he know?
I completely agree with you. And I think most Giant fans are there. Now, there is certainly a portion of Giants fans. Now, I'm not going to be upset if they get a hotshot coordinator who's never been a head coach before. But I think the dynamic of this team, especially since we haven't tried it since Coughlin, needs a guy that's had success as a head coach in the NFL. You think about what they did with Eli, young quarterback when he first came in. They brought in Tom Coughlin, a guy that knew how to build a program. The Giants, I think, where they are right now as an organization, they need a program builder. Whether that's, I'm going to continue to pound the table for Mike Tomlin. And it seems that people are split on Twitter. If he becomes available, which is looking more and more likely that he potentially could. Now, we may have to trade for him because the Steelers may not just drop him because I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. That's my dream candidate. You're talking about a guy that has won a Super Bowl. You're talking about a guy who always remains competitive, a guy that will command respect. That's the type of coach that this New York Giants team needs right now. They need to completely change the program.
Yeah, they need somebody these young guys can respect.
Yeah.
There's no respect right now. And Abdul Carter is a perfect example of, I don't respect these guys. I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't give a shit if if they hold me out for a quarter. I don't give a shit. I'm going to do what I want and respect you. Fuck you. You're not going to tell me what to do. That's not a good look for an organization. Of course, losing games does that shit to people too. You're 2-11. You're going to sit there and you're going to question, what the fuck do these guys know? What do they know? They're 2-11. This team's been bad for years. These guys have been here for years. Nothing's changed. We get worse every year. Why would I respect what they say? They haven't proven shit to us either. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They can't win football games. They couldn't win football games before we got here. They can't win football games when we're here. So who's the real problem?
Yeah,
it's a big issue. With that said, that brings us to the close of the first part of Giants Collective. This portion of Giants Collective is brought to us by our friends at SeatGeek. Listen, man, Giants tickets are going to be cheap. So you can still go watch Jackson Dart. If you want to go, to the Giants Stadium and you want to boo the shit out of them and you want to get your frustrations out, well, SeatGeek has a great promotion going. As always, use the promo code Giants Collective 10. Links in the description. Let's hear from them. 80 seconds. Go get your beverages, and we'll get your questions right after this. What's going on, guys and gals? You looking for a fun activity? You want to get out of the house? You need something to do? Are you looking for a great gift idea? Well, if so, look no farther than the sponsor of Giants Collective, which is SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There's more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Giants season is underway. And say you want to check out Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders at MetLife Stadium? Well, it's easy. Just go to SeatGeek, scroll around, look for the tickets that you want, and SeatGeek's going to have your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. That's good. The red dots, well, it's not so good. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use the code Giants Collective for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with the promo code Giants Collective. Make sure you click that link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek, for sponsoring Giants Collective, and let's go, Giants! Let's go and just get the season over with, please. That's where we are now. Bob, I got one in before the stream started. Thank you, buddy. He says, seeing Brian Burns sitting on the sideline after the team went in for halftimes says it all about this season and ownership.
That was a sad image. Honestly, that was sad. I feel so bad for that dude because we talk about some of these players. I've seen several players this season take plays off, and we've talked about the lack of effort from specific players. Never once has that ever applied to Brian Burns. That dude is all efforts every second of every game. He deserves to win football games. And he has never won football games, not with Carolina, not now with the New York Giants. He's had, I forget, I think it's 8 coaches in 7 years.
Yeah,
I
I saw
8 head coaches.
Crazy stat like that. Yeah,
crazy, man.
And I think the stat I saw, Anthony, maybe I'm misremembering this, but I think the stat I saw after they fired Dable mid-season, it was either the third or fourth time in his career that he had a head coach that was fired mid-season since he's been in the NFL. Which is crazy.
It's messed up, man. It's messed up. And he is a really good dude. And he just deserves better. And it sucks. And a lot of these players are good dudes. And they do deserve better. And they do put the work in and the effort in. And it's just, I feel for them, man. You know, it's definitely taken its toll on Brian Burns. It's taken its toll on a lot of those players. I really do feel bad. And I feel bad, again, for the fans, like I've been saying. So it's just tough. Nobody wants to be in this position.
And unfortunately, we're in this position every season. And it's said about Dexter Lawrence. I mean, it's got to be a drain. Now, again, same thing at Burns. Burns knows nothing but losing football. Not with the Giants, but in his NFL career. And it's just got to. These guys are human, and it's got to wear on them after a while. That you get into the beginning of November, the end of October, and you're like, our season's already done, and we still got 3 months of this shit to go through, the practices and the games and the meetings and this and that, and who you lose interest. That was a team that had no interest in playing a football game last night at all. That was a team that's ready to pack their bags and go to Cancun. That's a team that was ready for the bye without question. And we talked about it before. Some of these guys are free agents or whatever, and
that's a big
part. Get to this point and you say, I'm not hurting myself. Yeah. Nope. No fucking way. I'm not hurting my market value for this 2-11 bunch of stiffs. I'm not going to stay here, so I'm certainly not going to give the Giants everything I have because I want to worry about my bottom dollar. That's what sports is now, man. So I understand. Why the hell would you want to put forth a bunch of effort for a team that obviously sucks constantly? But it is what it is. Jason, thank you, buddy. What could Shane have done? What could Shane have said to quiet fans with pitchforks? I want him to get this head coaching hire right, build a roster, not worry about the fans out. What he could have said, instead of saying it's not good enough, I would just once love it for him to come out and go, we suck. We suck. That's it. There is no excuse. We are bad. Not good enough. We are bad. It is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed with the players. I'm embarrassed with the coaches. I'm embarrassed with myself. And I will not allow this to continue. I will do everything I can to make this team more competitive in the future. I will do everything that I can to make sure we're winning football games again. That's it. Just admit it. Not good. I made mistakes. Coaches made mistakes. We as a unit, as an organization, are just bad right now. And we have to fix it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have quieted fans, but at least be honest and answer the questions.
Yeah.
Be honest. Deflecting and dodging is just going to make them more agitated.
I think regardless of what he said today, the pitchforks were out. People were just waiting to throw tomatoes at him. And so I don't think it mattered whatever he said today. People were going to, and rightfully so, the team's 2-11. They've been horrible his last 3 years here since he's been the general manager, and completely understandable why the fans are in an uproar. But I don't think it mattered what he said today. I think he was going to get ridiculed by the fan base regardless. I think people just want him gone. You go on Twitter right now, everybody's got clown pictures of Joe Shane. They can't wait to get him off the team. So he was in a lose-lose situation today, no matter what.
I understand the question 50 times and then not answering it. He didn't do himself any favors at that press conference.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
He probably wasn't going to come out of there unscathed anyway, but you got to give them something.
Yeah.
You can't just deflect the entire time and say it's not good enough. We fucking know, Joe. We're 2-11. This isn't not good enough. This is fucking awful, atrocious, abhorrent, abysmal, assholish, whatever other adjective you want to describe the Giants. It's what it is. It's terrible. It's bad.
2-11. We're the second worst team in the league.
Horrible. What, why, when? I ask myself that every Sunday when I watch a Giants. Carter's a bust. Also, draft Mendoza, cannon arm.
No, you can't draft.
Go with Dart, man.
You got to roll with Dart at least another year, hopefully longer than that. But you can't draft Mendoza. We're picking more than likely going to be top 5 in the draft. You got to continue to build out this roster and try to support Jackson Dart. He's played well enough this year. He's not the reason why this team's losing.
Yeah, and I'm not calling Carter a bust.
No, not calling Carter a bust either. No.
I won't call a bust either.
No, I don't like the red flags that we're seeing.
He's had a tumultuous rookie season. Let's say that.
It's not even his play on the field. The last couple of weeks, I don't like. It happens once. Whatever. I bought the bullshit excuse that he said that he was on the other side of the field, new routine, whatever. It happens again the next week or the week after that. That's concerning to me. That's a lot more concerning to me than the fact that he just has 1.5 sacks. But he's a rookie, and you hope he gets better. He's still young, but
I think Anthony saying the players don't respect the coaches has a lot to do with that.
You're probably right.
It does. 100%.
He's still a professional.
But it doesn't make it right at all.
He's still a professional though. Like think about it from the fans' perspective, guys. Like if you, at your job, if you showed up late to a meeting 2 weeks in a row and you went to your boss, well, shit happens. You'd be fired.
I can't say shit happens to my boss. He wasn't saying shit, but I can't.
Yeah,
do that.
so it's not a good look on his part. But he's a rookie, and hopefully he learns and gets better from it.
That's why we need to establish head coach that commands respect. That's obvious. And like you mentioned, Mike Tomlin is that type of guy. Mike McCarthy is that type of guy. Get a guy in here that has won and has a winning culture about them, and give it to the young players. You win football games. This shit doesn't happen. You don't. Well, I guess it does sometimes. I guess depends because it happens. It's happening with the Eagles too, and they're defending Super Bowl champions. So I guess it does, but you don't hear about it nearly as much when your team's winning football games as opposed to when you're 2-11 every year.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question. This is relating to Shane's press conference, and it might be. I'm forgetting. It could be bad memories. So I know, Chris, you just watched it pretty recently, so maybe you'll remember. When he had the question about the leadership and the guys who left the locker room, and he responded about the leadership, and he mentioned guys like Chris Manhertz, right? And he talked about how Dart's a young leader, all that. So
he mentioned Singletary,
Manhertz.
One other guy, I can't remember.
I think he mentioned Burns, too. Makes sense. Burns is captain. He didn't mention Dexter Lawrence, to my memory, correct?
No.
I thought that was odd.
The vibe that I got when he said that, Anthony, and maybe I'm wrong, was he was trying to pick out the guys that you may not necessarily think of, the guys that are, the back end of the roster guys that are good leaders, and you don't necessarily see it on the field as much. That was at least the vibe I got.
I just thought that was odd because Okereke too. He's a captain, and I don't know. I just thought at least,
you're right.
I thought he would at least go through the captain. So I just thought it was odd. I'm not trying to read into it or conspiracy or anything. I just thought it was a little odd, and I was making sure I wasn't.
Yeah, I understand your question, and yes, you're right. He did, and I think he even mentioned it when he mentioned guys like Manhertz. It may not be a guy that you see on the field every day, but there's things that go on where there's leaders in the locker room that you may not see in the on the field or whatever. But I don't really know that. It's a total disaster that we do know. Mike, thank you, brother. Love this channel. Love Fireside Giants too. Anthony, you're the man.
Appreciate that, Mike.
Thanks
That's awesome.
Here, Mike. Appreciate you for watching. Anthony is the man.
Yep, definitely got that right. Marcus McKeither, not Marcus McKeithen, so that's good. Guys, this is going to be a hard pill to swallow. But in the future, when the NFL is not a thing anymore, the Giants will only have 4 Super Bowl trophies.
What do you think? The NFL is just going to disappear?
It's going to be around a while.
I mean, it makes more money. It makes more money than anything. So I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. So
think about how long all the European soccer leagues have been around. I mean, you're talking hundreds of years, and they don't pull in nearly the same amount of money that the NFL does. So.
Game 7 of the World Series gets worse ratings than a Sunday Night Football game between the Jets and the Titans. So at the end of the day, the NFL still is king when it comes to money. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. I do agree with that. A lot of times when we watch the games, that the product is not as good as it once was. Between the officiating and the new rules that baby the quarterback, I think the product was better years ago, but it's still a very popular sport.
Now, I'll tell you what, the only way the NFL is going anywhere is if they got rid of the betting.
And that's not happening.
That's not happening. As a matter of fact, it's made it stronger. There's just more money pumped into the NFL than anything else. It's not going anywhere. There's just no way.
Fantasy football was the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah. The NFL's out of all of that'll be the if the NFL goes, the other three major sports will have went long before them.
Yeah,
that for sure. Jason, thank you. He says, if one side can use a bad game to show how bad this roster is and talented, why doesn't multiple good games against contenders suggest the opposite? Well, listen, that was always my argument, but they lose, man. And when you see what's going on with these players and you see what's going on with the coaching staff, and the coaching staff is a reflection of the GM, and especially when Joe Shane says, hey, this is an attractive job for another coach. But if Joe Shane's going into the next year as a lame duck GM, why would any prominent head coach want to take that job, knowing if a new GM comes in, the head coach is probably going to lose his job, and so are the coordinators. They're not going to get good candidates at that point. Nobody's going to want to interview for that job, knowing that they could be there for a year. So that's my issue with Joe Shane.
I just don't see, from Mara's perspective, I really don't see. And maybe things will turn around. Maybe they'll look really good the last 4 games, and that's why I subject my opinion to change. If they win 3 out of the last 4, there's probably a better chance than not that Shane could be back. But I don't think they're going to win 3 out of the last 4 based on what we saw last night. But I really just don't see. I think there's more reason to move on from Shane if you're John Mara than to stick with him for the main reason that I talked about earlier. It's an attractive job. Everybody in the fan base wants him gone. The savvy move by Shane, if he wanted to extend his job past this year, he lost that opportunity. If he would have fired Dable before the year started and they brought in a new head coach, well, Mara would have said, well, I got to give the coach 2 years, which means I got to give Shane 2 years. When he stuck with Dable, I think it gives Mara all the incentive in the world to move off of him, because it's a pretty attractive job right now for all the reasons that we stated, but the team is still so far away, right? They're 2-11. Bringing a general manager that could build this roster up to get the good pieces that you have in this team to be a Super Bowl caliber roster. And Joe Shane just hasn't demonstrated that through 4 years. Just hasn't done it.
Yeah, just the results. Listen, Jason, you watch this show every week. Like I said, man, I've been an advocate of keeping Joe Shane, but it's hard to defend the guy at this point. After that game last night and that press conference today, it's hard to defend him. Want to give a big shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this portion of Giants Collective. Let's hear from them. It'll be 30 seconds back after this with your rest of your questions.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Yeah, one other thing with Sleeper, even better than the $100 match deposit bonus, which you can get. All you gotta do is click the link in the description. If you guys don't have a Sleeper account, you want to try out Sleeper, and it is a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun on Sleeper. If you want to try it out for free, all you gotta do is click the link in the description. open a brand new sleeper account. They're going to give you $20 for nothing, just for opening a brand new sleeper account using that link in the description. You don't have to make a deposit. You don't need a credit card or debit card or nothing. Get $20 to try it out. And if you like it and you want to make a deposit, you're still eligible for the 100% match deposit bonus using promo code HMA. Big shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring Giants Collective, the rest of the Q&A.
I want to answer Jamie's question real quick, and I want us all to give our opinion on this. Jamie says, why is it an attractive job? Say it. Why is it an attractive job for a potential general manager? First off, Jamie, think of it like this. If it was a Super Bowl ready-made position already, you're not going to fire your general manager. So whenever there's a general manager opening, it's not going to be a perfect situation, of course. But when you look at the Giants situation, you have a top 5 left tackle in the sport, the second most important position in the sport. You have a top 5 wide receiver when he's healthy. We know he's been hurt this year with Malik Neighbors. That's a building block. That's a franchise piece. You have potential franchise pieces on the D-line that we haven't seen this year outside of Brian Burns, but we all know Dexter Lawrence, when he's right, is one of the better interior defensive linemen in the entire league. I think we could all agree, even though he's been disappointing this year, Abdul Carter has the potential to be a franchise-altering pass rusher, along with, of course, Brian Burns, the way we've seen it this year. And the biggest piece, of course, is Jackson Dart. And he's shown promise at the quarterback position. So I think, and I'd have to really analyze and look at all the potential GM openings around the league, but I would think the Giants are one of the more attractive destinations for a general manager to come in for the reasons that I stated.
I think when you have a quarterback, I think that's the hardest thing to get.
Yeah.
And when you look at what Jackson Dart's been able to accomplish without Malik Neighbors, his entire rookie season outside of a couple of quarters, you see what he accomplished with Cam Scatterbo, and then Scatterbo's obviously missed the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's also hasn't had Darius Slayton a lot of the year. They brought in Isaiah Hodgins. The line has been better, but when you take a look at what Jackson Dart's been able to accomplish on a not so good football team and a banged up football team, you have a franchise quarterback. That's the hardest piece to find. You don't need to stress about that. You say, we're rolling with him. I can build around my guy. Now I have a guy I can build around. And I think that makes the GM's job a lot easier. And there is young talent here. So they have a start. It's just going to be up to a GM to finish it.
And Jamie says the answer, assuming it's an attractive job, of course, is Joe Schoen. You could make that argument. Joe Schoen did enough. He brought in enough pieces at the most important positions while not building a complete roster to make it an attractive job for a fix-up for a general manager. You could make that argument, but he hasn't done enough. The team is still horrible.
The thing is, it's very easy to analyze a general manager by the roster. That's super easy. You look at it, you say they're good here, they're bad here. He hit on this draft pick, he missed on this draft pick, but he got the right pieces in place. And yes, those hits have made this an attractive job. What makes it unattractive, let's look at that perspective, is the culture within the organization. That stems from the lack of respect to the coaching staff all the way up to the front office. And that stems from the general manager that's currently there. The argument for firing Joe Schoen, yes, it's because he hasn't done a good enough job because the team isn't winning enough games. Why aren't they winning enough games? There is talent there. Well, there wasn't good coaching. He hired the coaching staff. That's a Joe Schoen problem. And also, the culture is all out of whack. That's a Joe Schoen problem. That's really why I want new people in the building, because I don't think that the respect is there across the board. I don't think that they respect the coaches. I do not think that they respect the front office either. I don't think they have respect for Joe Schoen. Go look at how Saquon Barkley paraded around the league about how Joe Schoen disrespected him. That's what he was doing. He wasn't parading about, look at how amazing I am. It was, Joe Schoen was so disrespectful to me during those contract negotiations. I'm going to make a documentary about it. I'm going to go win a Super Bowl. And then he did it. All throughout the whole offseason with Daniel Jones, the Giants did disrespect Daniel Jones. I disrespected Daniel Jones. I'm not saying that I'm innocent or that anybody. We all disrespected the shit out of Daniel Jones because he wasn't playing good football. But the Giants, the front office, also disrespected him. And then they let him go. They cut him midseason. It was a whole saga. Now he's playing better elsewhere. So, again, I'm not saying that these were the right moves, the wrong moves, whatever. I'm not evaluating the moves. I'm evaluating the perspective of the players realizing he disrespected. I don't want to be disrespected. I don't want to play for this guy because he's disrespectful. Yeah. That's a cultural issue within the organization. That's why you fire Joe Schoen and you bring somebody new and you say, thank you so much for doing the job you were paid millions of dollars to do and finding some talent for the roster. You did the job you were paid to do. Great job. But you didn't do the other half of the job, and we're going to find somebody else who can do that.
And Anthony, at the end of the day, if they bring in a general manager that does get this team to the point where we all want it as fans, I'll look back fondly at some of the things that Joe Schoen did, and I'll give him credit for it. I'll say, listen.
Just like we do with Gettleman, right?
Just like we did with Gettleman. Andrew Thomas,
Sure.
That's a great piece for Joe Schoen. I'll say, well, thank you for getting us Jackson Dart. Thank you for getting us Malik Neighbors. Thank you for getting us Abdul Carter if he turns into what we hope he can be. But at the end of the day, he wasn't the guy that I personally don't think at this point he's the guy that's going to get this team back to respectability.
Yep. And that's just what it comes down to for me. Respectability. I just don't think the Giants are respected. I don't think that the players respect Schoen. I don't think the players who leave, I think they feel disrespected by him. And I think that's an issue that, you can't fix by pointing, oh, he drafted this guy right. He hit on Jackson Dart, hit on this pick. It's, that's half of the job. The other half of the job is the part that I think he's failing at. And that's why I think they need to bring somebody new in.
Somebody asked him, I don't remember his answer, but I remember it was probably Pat Leonard, I'm guessing, because I remember thinking that was a really good question. I think it was Pat. Might have been somebody else because they didn't say who it was. And I don't recognize the voices. I don't watch enough press conferences to recognize everybody's voice. I know somebody asked him about having players that are taking up roster spots and not contributing. And I know that was Hyatt and Evan Neal. And I don't remember what the hell I remember he kind of stumbled. He really didn't have an answer for that question. I don't remember who asked that, but I'm like, that is something that we have wondered ourselves. What the fuck is Hyatt doing? Why is Evan Neal still on this team? You're just taking up a roster spot. He doesn't play. Trade him, cut him, call somebody else up. Like, that is just a wasted slot. And that's something else that just doesn't make sense. And then you could say the same thing of Jalen Hyatt. He didn't play a lot of the year. Why are we holding on to this? I mean, now, obviously, we have no receivers, but, a lot of people, when they point to the faults of Joe Schoen, yeah, we definitely have a good young core of talent. We just don't have a lot of depth in a lot of areas, and that is where a lot of people are critical of him. You have to find a guy that can build the depth. You have to find a guy that commands respect. You got to find a guy that can hire the right head coach and the right coordinators to deal with the players on this team. So it's not just about, Anthony just mentioned, it's not just about your picks. It's about everything else that goes on underneath you. You're in charge of a lot of people. And if the players aren't respecting the people that you hired, they're not going to respect you either. That's a problem. And we see it rearing its ugly head as this season comes crashing down again. Yeah. Jason, thank you. He says, if Vrabel's our coach, how many wins?
At least 7. At least right now, 7.
8.
Yeah, 7 or 8. He's a great coach. Look what he did with those Tennessee teams with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. Ryan Tannehill he's no better than Daniel Jones. No better than Daniel Jones. He had that team going to the AFC Championship game multiple years. The guy knows how to coach. The guy's a tremendous coach, Mike Vrabel.
Yeah. Yeah. We need our Mike Vrabel. We need a guy like that. Jason says cycling through GMs and head coaches doesn't guarantee wins. No, and we know that. We cycled through a lot of them, but these guys have had 4 years and they're not going this way. The trajectory of the Giants, it's not like they won 3 games the first year, then they won 5, then they won 6, and now we're 7-6 or whatever. That's not what's happened here. It's going the complete opposite direction. Although it's weird because I do feel like the talent's gotten better, but the results have gotten worse. There's something amiss there.
And I agree with Jason, by the way. I'm, as you know, Bad Dog, we've been working together for 7 years or whatever it's been. I am generally a guy that preaches patience. It takes time to build. I am not normally in favor of cycling through head coaches and general managers rapidly. But at the end of the day, we've given these guys 4 years. It's not like this is a rash decision to decide to move on from Joe Schoen. 4 years in the NFL is an eternity.
It's a rookie contract.
Yeah, that's a long time, especially when the team has been as bad as they've been the last 3. So I think they've given them the proper amount of time, and the team has not shown they've gotten worse. The only argument to keep Schoen, he's done some good things, like we talked about, some of the pieces, and I do think he's done a good job with the salary cap. He's been diligent there.
Definitely done good with that, yes.
There's some arguments, but the fact of the matter is it's very hard. And of course, Jackson Dart, you don't want to screw up Jackson Dart, right? If you bring in a new general manager, is he going to want to move on from, like, I get that argument, but at the end of the day, it's been 4 years. You look at these teams around the NFL, look at the Bears. The Bears flipped it like that. They found their quarterback.
The Patriots flipped it like that.
Yeah. Both those teams found their quarterback the prior year, and then they got the right head coach to put that team to where they needed to be. And they took completely different routes, as I've discussed before. Patriots went with the veteran route. The Bears went with the hot shot coordinator. So either scenario could work. And you look at that as a Giants fan, and you're saying, and I saw Anthony actually mention this today on Twitter. He was comparing, I think it was the Bears this year to what the Giants could be next year. You look at that and you say to yourself, why can't that be us? We have pieces in place. If Jackson Dart's as good as he looks, if we get the right coach in here, why can't we do that? And I just think what Shane has done over the last 4 years, and yeah, he also has to take blame for the coaching staff. He had every opportunity in the world to replace Dable before the year started and get a Mike Vrabel, right? I'm not saying he would have taken the job, but get a guy that could have elevated this team. He elected not to do it. He's had 4 years. I think it's time to make the move.
Yeah. Hockey Pro, thank you. He says 9-7-1 in 2022, 6-11 in 2023, 3-13 in 2024, 2-11 2025. But he understands the questions. Does he understand how bad the team sucks? That's a great question. I understand your question. And I honestly think he does. He just doesn't want to admit it. I look at it that way. But the team is not good, man. It's embarrassing. And listen, I feel like I've been very patient this year. I haven't really had one of those, I obviously get frustrated, but I haven't had one of those fuck the team type of thing until last night. That was kind of the end of it for me. I'm like, whatever. I'm just throwing in the bag, just tank it, just get rid of everybody, and let's start over in 2026. And not and going with extremely low expectations. That's where I'm at right now. Bear R, thank you, brother. Shane needs to go. I don't think the players respect him. It won't matter if we get a good coach as long as Shane is our GM. And Shane would be the guy to hire the head coach. So
I'm not saying it's impossible for this team to turn around if they keep Shane as the general manager, but I just think it's much more likely if you bring in somebody else. I don't think he's not Howie Roseman. Let's put it that way. So we should strive to get a general manager like the Eagles have. If you want to win Super Bowls, you want to get the cream of the crop, and Joe Shane is not that.
Jason, thank you, brother. I actually love Dart's answer. He is not passive. He wants to win badly. We need this mentality. If that Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, that's a flag.
I'm going to be honest. If Baddog and me watched that real time, that shouldn't have been a flag.
No, it was. He didn't.
I don't think so.
Shouldn't have been a flag, and maybe Mahomes gets the call because he's Mahomes.
I don't know. Mahomes got that call the other day, and they picked that flag up.
I'm going to tell you what. I was watching the Bills game on Sunday. Josh Allen got destroyed when he slid. A guy hit him head first. They didn't throw the flag, so it shouldn't have been a flag. If it was not the Giants playing, of course, if it's the Giants playing, I'm always going to take 15 yards. But if I was just being impartial, watching two teams I didn't care about, I would have been pissed if they threw that flag.
Yeah.
I would have said the quarterback's dumb. He should have run out of bounds 2 yards earlier. He stayed in bounds, and he put himself in harm's way, and the defensive guy made him pay for it. It was a clean hit. It was a hard hit, but it was a clean hit.
Yep, didn't leave with his head, didn't hit him in the head, just lowered his shoulder and just whacked him.
Yeah.
That's football.
Yeah.
But I'll say I do think, the first half of this super chat from Jason, I didn't love the answer. We all talked about the answer in the post-game press conference, but I do agree with the fact that he's not being passive and he really badly wants to win and he has the right mentality. That I agree with, and I totally support. I want him to be passive. I want him to be himself. I want him to speak his mind the same way that Burrow does. If you ever watch Joe Burrow's press conferences, that guy is, he's Joe Cool. Like that's why they call him that. He's very cool up there and he's very open and honest and he's very clear and intentional about his mentality. And that's something that I think if you've been watching this show for a while, I was very critical of the previous quarterback of the New York Giants for not being open, honest, and intentional enough during his press conferences. And I felt he didn't have the mentality. Dart has it. And I think it's an X factor that all the top quarterbacks have. And I'm very excited about that. So I don't want to take that away from him. I just think, listen, he's a rookie. There's some things to clean up. And like I said, I don't
Yeah.
think that it was a. I don't think it's necessarily a Dart problem anyway. I think it's a lack of respect that the coaching staff has. They failed to earn the respect, and like I said, it's a mutual thing. Everybody's got to earn that respect.
I didn't like the answer, Anthony, but I fully recognize he's a rookie, like you said, and I do think the coaching staff has something to do with it too. And rookies, you have to learn in the NFL. I remember actually Dart. It wasn't as a runner; it was as a passer in training camp. I remember he said something along the line. I think I think it was Dart this year in training camp. He threw a pick like his first pass, and he was told, or maybe it was a batted ball, whatever it was, and he talked about how he has to get used to the speed of the NFL and defense that he's not accustomed to at the collegiate level. Well, I think he's starting to learn that as a runner, and we saw that last night. And I think he'll learn it. I do. I think he'll learn. I think he'll grow, but he's got to get better at that, right? We saw him dive headfirst like Evel Knievel like 4 or 5 weeks ago. You don't want to see your quarterback doing that. I don't want to take it completely away from him. I want him to be aggressive, but he's got to be smarter.
I think, I like his moxie.
Yeah.
I like his attitude. I think that his answer last night was just that of frustration.
Yeah.
They played like shit. It's obvious he doesn't like losing. He took that loss in Denver very hard. The Giants never recovered from that loss in Denver, but he's got it. Again, it came off as, it's disrespect. If a coach is telling you something or whatever, you have to say, okay, coach, I get it. Yep, I'll do my best. You can't just go out and say pretty much, fuck you, I ain't listening to you. You can't do that. That was the only reason I didn't like it. But I do like his attitude. I want him to be aggressive. I want him to play like Jackson Dart, but at the same time, he's not going to be playing like Jackson Dart for very long if he keeps taking those hits.
Yeah,
maybe he'll be finding another career.
Yeah.
And he'll be sitting there going, Jesus, maybe I should have got down. I'm 24, 25 years old and I'm out of the NFL because of multiple concussions. And I threw away a great career because I didn't want to listen. So you wanted the aggressiveness to be there, but you don't want them to be stubborn either. There has to be a little give and take here between the coaching staff and the players. They're not going to tell you to do something that's not for your own good when it comes to something like that, especially since you just got out of concussion protocol.
But it's just being smart. You give up
that's the whole thing. I don't want him to be scared. I want, but you have to pick your spots. He'll learn. I know he's a smart kid. Mm-hmm. He will learn. And I do think if there's another coach here, like if it was John Gruden, no, like we mentioned earlier, no way if it was a different coach, he's saying that shit. It ain't happening. The boss, thank you, says, Chris, you mentioned Tom Coughlin. Ironically enough, the 10-year anniversary of his resignment is coming up on January 5th. I truly believe this team is cursed due to the way they treated him. The Coughlin curse is real.
I think you're right. I don't know if that's the reason, but that's the turning point. Everybody points to the boat. I think the turning point came before that. I think the turning point came to when they decided to keep Jerry Reese and fire Tom Coughlin, and that's where everything just got out of whack with this organization. They tried to do a rapid fire. Let's try to give Eli one last Super Bowl. That set the franchise back multiple years after that, and they haven't been able to recover since. So I think that was the real turning point where this franchise really started to go towards where they are now.
Yeah, that was also a very bad look.
Yeah.
Bear, thank you again. What is your take on the running back situation? Yak coming off injury, Tracy already up in age. Do you run it back or use a high draft pick or a later round? Are we confident in Scott as a number one running back? I'm not spending an early pick on a running back. I don't think Singletary is going to be around much longer. I don't know how old Tracy is, but
26, I think.
I don't really know if that's up there in age, but I wouldn't hurt to have more depth there. Because
we could always use more depth at every position on this route.
I'm using a high pick on a running back.
Yeah, that's like
a day 3 pick.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
You always want to add good football players. If there's a good running back in round 5 that you love, of course. But you look at this roster, guys. Offensive line is always more important than the running back position, regardless. So offensive line, I'm prioritizing over that. Defensive line, we certainly need some help, especially on the
linebacker.
Linebacker is much higher in my pecking order than running back.
Secondary.
Both positions in the secondary, the way that Nubin's looked. So basically every position on this roster, I would prioritize above running back right now. But of course, if you love a running back, yeah, you could add one in the 5th or 6th round. But I don't think we have a bad dynamic with the two guys that we have there with Scadaboo and Tracy. It's not Saquon Barkley. It's not, one of the Bijan Robinson. But I think it's fine, especially if the offensive line continues to get better.
Yeah. I mean, and again, the Giants were one of the top teams in running the football. They were third in rushing touchdowns. And Jack Start has, something to do with that as well. But Scadaboo made a massive impact. Tracy and Singletary ran the ball fine last night. Just we were down by 18 points. So I didn't think the running back spot's okay. I think other spots need, they need help. Zach, thank you. He says, I understand the question. Glad you understand the question.
Good to know, Zach. Good to know.
Like I said, he understands it. Can you answer it? That's what I see. If I was a reporter, that's how I would say, or I ask him. I'm like, okay, you understood it. Now, can you answer it for me, Joe? Can you give me an answer? Analysis. Thank you. He says 26 schedule, not as bad as 25 is. No picnic. 6 divisional games: the 49ers, the Texans, the Colts, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Jags, the Cardinals, and the Titans +3 to be determined.
So we'll play the last place team. Obviously, we're going to finish in last, so we'll play the last place team in the divisions that we don't play.
We're going to get.
That fluctuates year to year because we finished. I think were we 3rd or 4th last year in the division? I don't even remember.
4th.
We were last.
4th. Yeah, we were. Of course, we were last. Why wouldn't we be? We were 4th in the division last year, but we ended up playing the Bears, who finished 4th in the North, and now the Bears have the number 1 record in the NFC. So it's completely unpredictable year to year how these things are going to turn out, especially before the drafted free agency hits. You don't even know what these teams are going to look like. You don't know.
Also, that schedule looks tough. That looks really hard. The Niners.
The West this year is the best division in the NFC, which is shocking to me. I didn't expect it to be, but playing the
Texans
NFC West
are great. Colts are great. Rams are great. Seahawks are great. Jaguars are great. Cardinals are not nearly as bad as I thought they would be, actually. And Titans are really bad, but I don't know. It looks tough, but every schedule is tough. I said that during the summer. The Giants can't hang their hats on the schedule. They can't go into the season, lose these games, and blame the schedule. It's 32 NFL teams. It's an NFL team. You cannot blame the schedule. You have to put a good team on the roster. You have to beat good teams. Good teams beat good teams. And I thought the Giants really could have been that team that beats some of those good teams. And I think I was proven right in many ways because this season they were competitive with a lot of those teams. And I said, I think they could be competitive. I think they could sneak out 5 wins. And realistically, they should have snuck out 5 wins by now, let alone by the end of the season. It just didn't go that way. They misevaluate certain things. But I think next year, you can't look at the schedule. You just got to put the best roster on the field and coach it well.
Anthony, another team I forgot, the team we played last night finished in 4th place in their division last year. And right now they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. So in the AFC.
They're so good, dude.
I mean, every year, every team changes. The schedule is based on last year's performance. And you guys just mentioned the Patriots are fucking horrible. They're Super Bowl contenders. The Bears are the number 1 seed in the Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC. It changes. Washington was really good last year. Look at where they are this year.
Yeah,
it changes every year.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why I said on Twitter. I know Chris mentioned it, but the Giants could go from worst to first next year. They could be the Chicago Bears of next year because the way I look at it, the Bears, they had a promising young quarterback in year 1 of his career going into year 2. Just needed a good coach that could foster his growth, but also be a leader to unite the rest of the roster. They did that. They got Ben Johnson. The Patriots, same thing. Drake May, really promising quarterback who was in the tent a lot, had a concussion protocol stint a couple times last season, similar to Dart. Just got the right coach, CEO type to lead the team, and now they're top. So I think that's kind of the blueprint right now that we're seeing. You get the young quarterback, you get the right coach to match that quarterback and the rest of the team, and then you find success. So hopefully the Giants do that, but the Broncos too. But for every one of these examples, there's an opposite. I remember when the Browns had this exact situation right in front of them with Baker Mayfield going into year 2, and they completely screwed that one up sideways. And we've seen the Jets. So for every success, there's a failure. I just pray to God that finally this time it's not a failure for the Giants.
With Daniel Jones is a failure. I mean, after his rookie year, people were relatively high on him, and we made a coaching change, and obviously that was the wrong coach. So yeah, it's It could go one way or the other, like you said.
Yeah, without question. Whoops. New York Sports, thank you. He says, I'm so done with this team. I don't blame you. It was my first time not watching a game on primetime since moving away from New York to San Francisco in 2015. well, you picked a good game not to watch because that was the worst.
Let me ask you, what was the more disappointing? I'm going to list what I think the two most disappointing games were this year. You could argue the second Eagles game as well, but I would say last night's game and the opening game against the Commanders, because opening game, you're excited, the year's getting going, and the team was completely.
They were not prepared.
They were flat the entire game. I obviously watched that game with Anthony. That was like one of the most boring games I've ever watched. It was great to get to hang out with Anthony, but it was a horrible game. Which game was the worst game for you guys? Was it the opening game of the year, or was it last night? For me, I think it was last night.
Last night.
We
were never in it.
Yeah.
They're down 37 at halftime. The game is over, 17-0. With a minute to go in the first quarter, game is over.
Yeah.
I
never felt like we were in the Commanders game either, even though the score may have said that we were. But yeah.
At least we were like a score away. Like we were never close last night.
Yeah.
Stone Sour, thank you. Says, let's watch classic. Yeah, I saw Stone Sour, and that the WWF ran like just a massive loop of Survivor Series from like 1990 or 1987 to 1993 for like 4 days straight or whatever it was. I was in there a lot. One day I was just hanging out in there, just making fun of it. Like we were always joking around about all the old wrestlers and stuff. It was pretty fun. But I saw him in there. I saw a couple of guys. I like it when people see me in like different streams like that. Like, Baddog, what are you doing here? I'm like, I freaking love old wrestling. Huh? I was when it was good. Wise Geezer. Thank you for the $2 donation. Appreciate you. It's a great name.
I think I don't know if he meant to donate this because he commented right below the donation. So just pull up that comment just in case.
That's my guy, Orlando. Great subscriber for Fireside Giants.
Right,
shout out to you, Orlando. Appreciate the super chat.
There you go.
I hope that Maritish and Koch understand the actual situation of this organization and make the right decision. They've been hoping that for a while.
We all do. We all do. So, if you meant the super chat, that I just wanted to make sure we read it. But appreciate you for being our wise geezer. But yeah, we all hope that. Huh.
Yeah. We got to get Tate Sandell on here. I'm gonna keep saying that shit.
Obviously, he did mean to super chat because now he super chatted again by accident. So.
Thank you, man. You didn't have to do that again, but we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah. Tate Sandell, man. Day 3, mark it down. Oklahoma kicker. Giants must draft a kicker. That's right. You cut Gano. You're saving $5 million. Probably going to cut Okereke. That's another $9 million because it's going to be a new GM. They're going to want to have their money to deal with, and you draft Tate Sandell. You got to get a freaking kicker. The kickers are very important nowadays, man. These guys are weapons.
Oh yeah,
we've had it done to us a number of times, right? True. So, and look at the Jets. Shitty freaking weather. Nick Folk of all people knocking on a 56-yarder as time expired.
If you can't hit a 60-yarder in today's NFL, you are at a severe disadvantage.
Before Cleveland kicked that, I said, I don't even want him kicking. I told you, Chris, I'm like, I'd like to get closer. I don't trust him kicking a 52-yard field goal. And he didn't even kick it. He kicked the ground.
Yeah.
Crazy. Analysis, thank you so much. He says, can we use one of our 3 6th-round picks to draft the fuck it? There you go. You should actually trade 2 of them to move up to get Tate Sandell. That's
we need a kicker. There's no doubt about that. We need a kicker.
And we need a kicker big time for sure. With that said, that brings us to another edition, the close of another edition of Giants Collective. As always, we appreciate you guys and girls tuning in. If you haven't done so, if you can hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. Costs nothing to do it. You can listen to us on wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. If you check us out on Apple, if you could leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. Check us out on TikTok and Instagram as well. Big shout out to the sponsors of Giants Collective, Doer Clothing, Manta Sleep, Sleeper, and SeatGeek. And I don't know that we're going to have a show on Thursday. Adriana is abroad. I don't mean she's abroad in the fact that she's a girl. I mean, she's like overseas. So she's in Paris at the moment. I think she said she was going to Paris and Brussels. So she's out living life.
I'm so jealous, by the way, that she travels like all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. Like, remember she left from Vegas earlier in the year when we were.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I don't mean she's abroad in this. She's a girl. Well, she is a girl, but I'm not. You don't get what I'm saying. She's overseas. The Lakers play very early on Thursday night, and we're on a bye. So I don't know what we're going to talk about. So it might just be one show this week and one show next week. Got to figure it out. But it's just, it's not a lot to discuss at this point.
Make sure you have an explanation just in case.
Last one in here. Alicia says Broncos game broke my soul. That was the worst.
That was the backbreaker, I think, for the team, for sure.
Yeah.
Like the team was never the same after that game. That's where everything went to hell.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So with that said, for Anthony Entertainah, it is your boy, the Bad Diggy Dizzle. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you in the next one. Giants suck, and we out. Peace. Garbage.